Hello, friends. Uh, I once again welcome you all for my lecture number 3 on plasma physics. Friends, in the previous lecture number 2, we have described the motion of charged particle in a uniform magnetic field, and we have obtained the equation of motion for charged particle, and we found the trajectory of the charged particle is helical, and we have also found that the electron as well as the ions of the plasma states are gyrating the field lines in opposite direction. So here you see that figures which is representing the direction of gyration of electron and direction of gyration of an ion. You can see that the magnetic field here is uniform and it is going into the plane of paper, and you can see the electron is gyrating in the clockwise direction, while ion is gyrating in an anti-clockwise direction, but the direction of gyration is opposite to each other. But the current, the ring of current which is produced because of rotating electron in a circle, rotating electron or rotating ion will be in the same direction, because here we are talking about the conventional current. Fine. Today we want to understand the diamagnetic character of the gyrating particle. That is our objective, to understand that the particles of plasma are having diamagnetic character. So you can see in this figure, you have you have your ring of current. This ring of current is because of the electron, as well as you have a ring of current because of the ion. Now, this ring of current is producing the additional magnetic field. So you see here the circular path of this electron, and because of the circular path of this electron, you have a ring of current, and this ring of current is producing a additional magnetic lines of force because of the gyration. And you see the direction of the additional magnetic field which is produced because of the gyrating charge particle. The direction of the additional magnetic field inside the orbit is opposite to the applied magnetic field. Your applied magnetic field, that is the external magnetic field, is going into the plane of the paper, and the additional magnetic field, because of the gyration of the electron inside the Larmor orbit or inside an orbit, is you can see it is exactly opposite. It is coming normally outward from the plane of the paper. So if you see the behavior of this magnetic field here, is that inside the orbit there is a reduction in the magnetic field, while if you look at that outside the orbit, the external magnetic field as well as the internal as well as the additional magnetic field and the external magnetic field are in the same direction. So there is a increase in magnetic field outside the orbit. But whenever but you look at the behavior of the additional magnetic field inside the orbit is opposite to the applied external magnetic field, and this is the diamagnetic behavior of the gyrating charges here. Similarly, here you can see in this case also you have your ion, and you see that normal radius of the ion is greater than the normal radius of the electron, which we have already proved last time. And you see this the ion is gyrating the field lines in the anti-clockwise direction. Because this you can explain with the help of your right hand law, and I have explained you how you can find out the direction of gyration of the charged particle in the uniform magnetic field. I would like to explain once again, because it is very important. Here you see that if you want to describe the gyration of electron in a uniform magnetic field, you will have to take your right hand and you have to orient to your right hand in such a manner that the thumb of your right hand should point along the field direction. That means you have to keep your right hand, you have to orient your right hand in such a manner that your thumb is you have to keep your thumb along the field direction, and the curvature of the finger will indicate the direction of the gyration of the electron. So if you keep your thumb along the field direction of your right hand, and you will see the curvature, and the curvature will indicate that the direction of the gyration of electron. And similarly you can describe the gyration of ion with the help of left hand, and you have to orient your left hand, keep your thumb of the left hand along the field direction. In that case the curvature of the finger of the left hand side will indicate direction of gyration of ion in the uniform magnetic field. And here you will find that ion is gyrating in an anti-clockwise direction and electron is gyrating in a clockwise direction. But because the gyrations are in opposite direction, but the current, the ring of current which you obtain will be, I would say that the conventional current, because of the gyration, will be obtained in the same direction. So you have a conventional current because of the gyration of electron, and you have a conventional current because of gyration of ion are in the same direction. So here we will first find out the magnetic moment associated with this ring of current. So let us calculate the magnetic moment associated with this ring of current because of the ion, ring of current because of this electron. So we first write down the general expression of the magnetic moment associated with the ring of current. So here I see the ring of current. I can write down the expression is equal to n times Ia, where n is a number of turns in a loop. But since you have a ring of current, there is only one ring, so there is only one loop here. So I keep n is equal to 1. So I get magnetic moment is equal to I times A. Now you see I is a current, so we can take dq by dt. Current you can write down dq by dt, and the area of the circular orbit is pi r square, where r is a normal radius, you can see. And now you see dq is charge, which is gyrating the field line. It may be an electron, it may be an ion. So we write down the magnitude of charge. If it is electron, it is minus q. If it is ion, it is plus q. But when you are calculating the magnitude, here I am keeping the magnitude of charge q. dt is basically a Larmor period. Larmor period is the time which is required to complete one revolution, right? You have a Larmor time, you have a Larmor radius also. You have a circular orbit, and you require to complete one complete rotation. So time required to complete one rotation is the Larmor period. So the Larmor period you can define as Tc. So I'm writing here Tc. You see, I did a small calculation here to demonstrate the physics of Larmor period. You see, omega c, we can write down this angular frequency is 2 pi fc. So fc you can write down omega c by 2 pi, and omega is a cyclotron frequency. Cyclotron frequency we have already calculated. It is a ratio of qb divided, qb to m. So this is known, qb divided by m. So if you calculate fc, it is equal to qb upon 2 pi m. And fc and tc, if you take a 1 upon tc, that is a reciprocal of the Larmor period is equal to the Larmor frequency fc. So 1 fc is 1 upon tc. So 1 upon tc is equal to qb upon 2 pi m. So tc, that is the Larmor period, is equal to 2 pi m divided by qb. So if it is ion, the Larmor period is greater. If it is electron, the Larmor period is small, because mass, it is directly proportional to the mass of the particle, and it is inversely proportional to the field strength. So now if you know Tc, you can also calculate the cyclotron frequency. Cyclotron frequency is Qb upon 2 pi m. Q is the charge of electron. So the charge of electron you can keep 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 into B. 2 pi is 6.28, and m is the mass of the electron. Mass of the electron is 9.1 into 10 raised to minus 31 kg. If you put this value here, so you will get Fc is equal to 28 times B in, in the order of gigahertz. So if you want to solve any numerical problem, if you want to calculate the Larmor frequency, right, and simply if the magnetic field strength is given, directly you can use this expression. And here you see that magnetic field B, which we have using are in MK system, and we measure in Tesla. So this B is in Tesla. So this is the expression for the Larmor frequency, right? And you please remember, and this is the expression for angular frequency. Larmor angular frequency omega is 2 pi fc. So you can calculate both of them here using this expression. So this expression will be very useful when we calculate the numerical problems here. So now let us calculate the magnetic moment associated with the ring of current. So dq is charge, is q, dt is basically is a periodic time, such that is a Larmor period into pi RL square. Right now, so q and 1 upon tc, you see I am writing q 1 upon tc into pi RL square, and 1 upon tc I have calculated qb upon 2 pi m. So I'm keeping qb upon 2 pi m, and RL is a Larmor radius. Larmor radius we have already defined. It is basically this is the momentum, you see. But so Larmor radius is mv perpendicular, you have qb, where v perpendicular is a perpendicular component of a particle velocity. So if you put this value here, Larmor radius, and if you take its square and if you simplify this expression, you will get that magnetic moment is basically is a ratio of kinetic energy. You see 1 upon half mp perpendicular square kinetic energy to the field strength, the applied magnetic field which you have applied. It is 1 upon half mv perpendicular square we define as one parameter. This is known as the transverse kinetic energy. Transverse kinetic energy is basically defined as 1 upon half mv perpendicular square. And now you see, we will see that this is the expression of the magnetic moment and the direction of the magnetic moment which we will calculate. Because it is a vector quantity, so you have to take the right hand screw and keep your right hand screw perpendicular to the plane of the paper, you see. So if I keep a right hand screw perpendicular to the plane of the paper, and if I and then you rotate the screw in the direction of the conventional current. Your conventional current is in the I'm sorry, it is in the anti-clockwise direction. You see, it is in the anti-clockwise direction. So if I have my right hand screw, and if I keep my screw perpendicular to the plane of the paper, and if I rotate my screw in a anti-clockwise direction, then the come screw will move in a forward direction. It will move in an outward direction. Right, you see your magnetic field is going into the plane of the paper, and the direction of the screw, when you rotate the screw in a basically in an anti-clockwise direction, the screw will progress in an outward direction. That means it will come normally outward from the plane of the paper, and your magnetic field B is going into the plane of the paper, and your screw is progressing in the normally outward direction. So this is the direction of your magnetic moment vector. So magnetic moment vector is exactly opposite to the applied magnetic field here. Your applied magnetic field is going into the plane of the paper, and your magnetic moment vector is basically is in direction of the propagation of the screw. The screw is moving in a forward direction, and it is coming normally outward from the plane of the paper. So we can say that the direction of the magnetic moment is always opposite, here in this case is opposite to the applied magnetic field. So here you can see, if you want to write this expression in a vectorial form, here I can write this expression here. So you see this expression, I wrote it here. So if you want to write down this in a vectorial form, so I should write down the vector mu. If you want to write down this in this, vector mu is equal to W perpendicular divided by B, and you should write down the some unit vector E. Suppose I write down the unit vector ER. So suppose this is the ER. Here I'm saying ER caret. So if you want to write down the direction of the magnetic moment vector, I should write down here a minus sign here. Please remember. And if I write down a minus sign, so it indicates that direction of the applied, I'm sorry, direction of the magnetic moment is in the opposite direction. This ER, suppose if I write down ER caret vector here, and if I define ER caret vector is in the direction of the applied magnetic field, then I can say that the direction of magnetic moment is in the opposite direction to the applied magnetic field. And this is the behavior of diamagnetic part. This is basically a diamagnetic behavior of the particle. So here, please, once again, I am repeating you. Please look at this expression. This is the expression I wrote in a scalar form. But if you want to write in a vectorial form, here you have to mention that the vector mu, that is the magnetic moment vector mu, should be equal to the ratio of transverse kinetic energy to the applied magnetic field. And here I write a minus sign. So I write a minus sign, and here I will write down a vector ER caret, where ER caret is the vector in the direction of applied external magnetic field. Please remember ER caret. If you write ER caret vectors, that is the unit vector which is in the direction of the applied magnetic field. Applied magnetic field is going into the plane of the paper. So your unit vector is also the direction of the unit vector is also going into the plane of the paper, and your magnetic moment vector will be having a minus sign. You have to put a minus sign, and this minus sign indicates that the magnetic moment vector, the direction of magnetic moment vector is exactly opposite to the direction of the unit vector ER, and the direction of unit vector ER is in the direction of the applied magnetic field, and applied magnetic field is going into the plane of the paper. So your magnetic moment vector will be coming normally outward from the plane of your paper, and that is why it is exactly opposite to the applied magnetic field. And this is the nature of a diamagnetic nature of the particle of plasma. So we can say that particles of the plasma are having a diamagnetic behavior or diamagnetic character. So this is a very important point you should note down. And now we will see another point that is known as the pitch of the helix. As I said earlier, that the trajectory of the charged particle is the helical path, because there are two component of particle velocity. You have a parallel component, you have a perpendicular component, and perpendicular component is affected by the uniform magnetic field, and it is describing a circular path. Particle is describing a circular path in xy plane, and that's why you see if the z component of the particle velocity vz is that is equal to vz0, which we have described, is not equal to 0. That means the z component of the initial velocity of the particle is not 0. Then the guiding center, that is the center x0, y0 of the particle, will move with the velocity vz0 along v. So because of the parallel component, vz0 is a parallel, you see it's a parallel component. So please remember, if Vz is equal to Vz0 is not equal to 0, that is the Z component of the initial velocity of the particle is not 0, the guiding center of the particle will move with the velocity Vz0 along V. And the trajectory of the particle will be helix of a constant pitch. So this pitch means you have a helical path. So the distance between the two consecutive thread of a pitch, thread of a helix, I would say, the distance between the two consecutive thread, I would is known as the pitch of a helix. And the pitch of a helix is basically dimension is length. So we can simply write down this expression that velocity is length upon time. So the pitch is basically the length. So the length is nothing but the product of V parallel, and time is the periodic time to complete one revolution. So pitch of a helix is basically a product of a velocity parallel component multiplied by periodic time t, that is a Larmor period t. This is known to you because I have already explained the helical path, and you see this expression is a simple expression. Now you see V parallel I am writing as it is, and TC, that is the Larmor period, which we have already defined here in the previous case. You see I have defined TC, and this is the expression of TC which we have calculated 2 pi m upon qb. So this expression I am keeping here, right? And so the pitch of the helix is defined as 2 pi v parallel m divided by qb. So you can see here in this expression, let's see here that the pitch of an ion, because the pitch of the helix is directly proportional to the mass of the particle, and the mass of the ion is greater, so the pitch of the ion is much greater than the electron. And the pitch is less if V parallel is less, and pitch is very high if B, you see that pitch is very less, I would say pitch is very less if B is very high. If magnetic field is very strong, then the pitch of a helix will be less. It will be small. So please remember that pitch of helix is basically depending upon the mass of the particle. It is depending upon the field strength also, and this is the expression for a pitch of a helix. And now you see that we want to derive a very important concept here, that since magnetic field is not doing any work on the charged particle, you see the particles of the plasma which is describing in a circular path, of course there is a change in the velocity, the direction, you see v perpendicular component is affected, but the magnitude of v perpendicular component is not changing, its direction is changing. And that's why your magnetic field is not doing any work on the particle. And so the kinetic energy of the particle in a arbitrary magnetic field is a constant of motion. In our case, we have a uniform magnetic field, and your particle is projected in a uniform magnetic field. And here we want to prove that its kinetic energy remains constant. So you see, I have this expression, and this is the expression I wrote it here, that kinetic energy is equal to 1 upon half mv square. So here I wrote 1 upon half mv square. And now you want to show that kinetic energy is remaining constant, there is no variation. So I take the time derivative of the kinetic energy here, you see. So I take dE by dt. So I differentiate with respect to t, right? So you see it is 1 upon half m, and I differentiate v square is 2v dv by dt, and that is equal to nothing but this 2 and this 2 cancel, it is m into v into dv by dt. So using this simple expression, one can calculate rate of change of energy, that is dE by dt is equal to the product of mv into dv by dt. Now you see we have already equation of motion which we have. This is the force acting on the particle is the product is given by q into v cross b. This we know. And the force is nothing but mass into acceleration. So I write down mass into acceleration is a rate of change of velocity. So m into dv by dt. So I am using this f is m into dv by dt is equal to q time v cross v. See, and now you see we want to prove m in we want this expression mv dv by dt, and you know m dv by dt we are having. So what I do, you this expression you multiply or you take the vector product. I'm sorry, you take the scalar product with vector v both sides, right? You take the scalar product with vector v both the sides. So you see, I take the scalar product with vectors, scalar product with this factor m into dv by dt, and so you see this m into v dv by dt, because I take the scalar product with vector v. So m into v dv by dt equal to you see this is q. Q is the magnitude of a charge, so I am writing, and you take a scalar product with vector v. So vector v dot v cross b, right? And v is always perpendicular to v cross b. This is the definition of a vector product. So v is always perpendicular to v cross b. So you can see this expression, and since v is perpendicular to v cross b, this dot product is zero. If dot product is zero, right, and then if it is zero, then you can see this dE by dt. So dE by dt is equal to 0. If dE by dt there is no variation, dE by dt is equal to 0. That means E is constant of motion, right? One can write E is a constant of motion. So here we have proved that kinetic energy of the particle in a uniform magnetic field is remaining constant. And once you know, then you can solve some problems. Let us take one problem, very simple problem, that calculate the Larmor radius. When you calculate the Larmor radius, you neglect the parallel component for a particle velocity. For a 5 keV electron, the energy of the electron is 5 k means 10 raised to 3. 5, that is 5,000 electron volt in the Earth magnetic field of 0.37 cos. So here you see we want to calculate. So we have a V parallel is 0. So I am keeping V parallel is 0. You see this is already given. And now the energy of the electron is 5 keV. So 1 upon half mv perpendicular square is 5 keV. So 5 k is 10 raised to 3, and E electron volt is in joule. I am keeping 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. So I calculate V perpendicular, and V perpendicular is nothing but zero point 0.4 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. So this is you can calculate using the expression of energy. And now one can calculate the Larmor radius. So the Larmor radius will be equal to m is the mass of the electron. So 9 into 10 raised to minus V perpendicular, which we have calculated, zero point 0.4 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. Q is the charge, the magnitude of charge. It is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. Magnetic field B is given, that is 0.37 Gauss. But when we are doing in calculation MKS, 1 Tesla is 10 raised to 4 Gauss. Please remember this. So I convert into the Tesla. So it is 0.37 into 10 raised to minus 4 Tesla, and you can calculate this. And when you calculate this expression, you will get the answer around 6.08 meter for a Larmor radius for electron whose energy is 5 electron volt. And you can also calculate some other problem. You see, find the solar wind proton, find the Larmor radius or the solar wind proton having velocity 300 kilometer per second. You have a solar wind proton whose velocity is 300 kilometer per second in the field of let us take the field is you can take the same field 0.37 cos. Take the 0.37 cos. This factor is not readable, so you take 0.37 cos is the field strength. Take the velocity of the particle is 300 kilometer per second, and find out the Larmor radius of a solar wind proton in the region where the magnetic field is 0.37 Gauss. I think this is a very simple problem. You can do this problem, and herewith we have completed the motion of charged particle in a uniform magnetic field. And now in the next lecture, we will describe that if you introduce the electric field along with the magnetic field, then you have to write down the equation of motion of charged particle. In that case, you see the particle having the parallel component of the particle velocity will experience like electric field. Please remember, in the previous case, that is the case of a uniform magnetic field, there is no electric field. So parallel component does not experience any force. It is moving with a constant velocity. But since you apply electric field, and there are two field now, electric field and magnetic field, perpendicular to each other, and if you project the particle in such a manner, then the parallel component, the particle velocity, will experience a force, and because of that it will be accelerated. And we will have a very important concept of the drift, that is known as the electric drift, which I want to discuss. So in the next lecture, we will discuss what is the electric drift, and we will find out the equation of motion of charged particle in a combined field. that is in the electric field and magnetic field, which are perpendicular to each other, and we will find out the trajectory of the charged particle as well as the drift experienced by the charged particle. This drift is known as electric drift, which I would like to explain in the next lecture. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much.